It's been a long time since I've been on this channel, so first things first, I want to say welcome back to the Worst Take channel. Me personally, I'm trying to figure out what my new multi-channel upload schedule is going to be, so bear with me while I figure that process out, because, I do the Cavs channel, and that is probably 3-4 videos a week. The Browns videos are daily, and then on the main channel, and then there's this channel, which so much was going on with the Browns, it's hard to keep up with that. Cavs season's going on, and then also keep up with all the national stuff that's going on. But now that things have kind of condensed, right, when the Browns aren't playing in active games anymore, they're not really in that many active stories, so my coverage of them is less intense, and the games are more funneled. The storylines are more funneled. It's easier to figure out what's to talk about. And now I can bring content. So I want to say sorry for not posting here for a while. But boy, oh boy, do we got something to talk about. Now, I say a lot that coaches don't get fired because they forget how to coach. Coaches don't get fired because suddenly they're not good at their job. Coaches get fired because expectations are high and the results aren't there. That could be because the players aren't good, but people expected them to be good. That could be because you're not doing a good job as a coach. It could be a multitude of reasons, but the fact remains is when expectations are high, and I mean truly high, right, and the results are low, bad things happen. And I think Brandon Staley just had one of those games, because people were already kind of wondering, hey, is Brandon Staley going to keep his job if the Chargers don't win this game? And he did something worse than not win. He embarrassed the franchise. And I mean no disrespect, Chargers fans, when I say this. It's not like it's easy to embarrass the Chargers. Like, as a Browns fan, I know that there is a certain level of embarrassment that I'm willing to just take on the chin because it's pretty normal to me. And that can be said for the Chargers. Like, there's a level of embarrassment that is normal. But what they did last night was simply abnormal embarrassment. Like, that's the kind of embarrassment that gets people fired. And if you don't know what happened, the Chargers were up at one point in this game 27-0 in the first half. 27-0. And honestly, they were like at the 3-yard line. They settled for a field goal. And that's how it got to 27. It could have easily been like 33-0. Like Georgia TCU level score. That's what a lot of people were actually saying on Twitter. They were comparing this game to Georgia TCU. That's how bad of an ass whooping this was. And then, and also you have to remember, Trevor Lawrence looked terrible in the first half of this game. He threw 4 interceptions. I think 3 of them were in the first half. I don't think he had a touchdown in the first half. I don't remember him having a touchdown. He might have had one right at the end. But anyways, this happens. They're up 27-0, and they lose this game 30-31. Now, why is this going to be something that gets Brandon Staley fired? One, a collapse like that gets people fired. 2, what I said about expectations. If you look at this Chargers roster, this was not a team that was trying to build for the future. This is a team that is trying to win right now, right? Justin Herbert at quarterback, he's going to have to get paid very soon here, right? Like after this year, I think this is his 3rd year. Next year, he's going to be on his rookie deal. And then after that, you got 1 more year left in that window for the Chargers. And that might be what saves him. But I think that might also be what kills him. With Keenan Allen, it's 30 at this point. They brought in and they traded for Khalil Mack. Well, they already traded for Khalil Mack to pair with Joey Bosa. This was not a team that was trying to win next year. They were trying to make a run this year. And not only did they not get there, they chose the most embarrassing route to get there. So that's one. Two, Brandon Staley, for those of you who don't know, is a defensive coordinator over everything else. He controls the defense in Los Angeles. When they did a great job versus Lamar in 2018, Brandon took all that credit. He had no problem taking all that credit, right? Now, he's going to have to take credit for this, man. I don't know if this is the largest. This has to be the largest collapse in playoff history. It's definitely the most embarrassing one because you have a guy who you picked off 3 times, 4 times total. You demonstrated that I think Asante Samuel had 3 of those interceptions. You demonstrated that you had the ability to stop him and just stopped. Made some mind-blowing decisions. Look, one of the things that drives me crazy about some coaches is that when they get a lead, they get too conservative and you're supposed to run the ball, but sometimes you run yourself into 3 and outs. Well, that's not what the Chargers were trying to do. The Chargers were throwing 3 and outs. I ain't never seen a team collapse in the way that they collapse. And this is a team that has real deal players. Justin Herbert is a real deal player. Keenan Allen, this is a team that has real deal players. And they just completely collapsed in on themselves. And Brandon Staley can't come back after this. This is one of those collapses that ends your head coaching career momentarily, if not indefinitely. Because a lot of people are running with the rumor, hey, maybe he becomes the Browns defensive coordinator or maybe he becomes the Falcons defensive. Let me tell you something, dog. He has that funk on him now. That's the thing. It's like anything else. When you embarrass yourself on national TV and everybody's watching, now you got the funk on you. And don't nobody want the coach with the funk on them, right? It has nothing to do with whether he's qualified. He's, of course, qualified to be a defensive coordinator right now. That has nothing to do with it. It's the fact that he has the funk on him. And when you hire a new defensive coordinator, the ideal is to re-energize your fan base by giving them somebody that they can believe in, not signing somebody that you got to justify why you did it, right? The reason you hire somebody to be a coordinator is because you really need an easy win when it comes to the coaching staff. Most times, right? The staff's been kind of disappointing. You got to fire somebody to appease the fan base. And when you're trying to do that, you're trying to bring in an easy W. Brandon Staley is not an easy W. He is not that. Nobody's going to be excited for Brandon Staley to be the defensive coordinator of the team, which means he's probably going to get fired. News hasn't come in. It's super late in LA when this video goes up, so it won't be up for a while. But he's probably going to get fired. If he doesn't, he's going to be a lame duck and probably get fired mid-season, but he's going to get fired soon. That means for him, his road back, I would stay out the league for a couple of years. I wouldn't even try to coach. Just sit out the rest of your contract. Just let it ride and become a position coach. And I know somebody in the comment, Quincy, he's qualified. He's going to be back in the... No, man. This is that funk on you. Hugh Jackson, very qualified offensive coach, coached both sides of the ball, been a head coach for 2 different teams, and was a good enough offensive coordinator in the NFL to almost get Andy Dalton a MVP. Think about how good you had to be at your job to almost have Andy Dalton be the MVP. Had people actually take that conversation serious. Hugh Jackson went 1-31 with the Browns. That man has not sniffed the NFL since he got a pity hire from Marvin Lewis. He got that funk on him. He's in Grambling, and good for him. Like, coaching at Grambling, that's dope and all. But if he could be a coach in the NFL in any significant capacity, offensive coordinator or something of that caliber, I promise you Hugh Jackson would be in the NFL. He would not be at Grambling. You know what I mean? Like, he ain't that dedicated to that whole thing down there. And that's what I'm saying, dog. He got the funk on him so bad, he had to go to the FCS. Like, this is the funk. When you do something like this, that dude has the funk. And that means that Brandon Staley ain't going. Somebody's got to get blamed for this, right? We're not going to want to put the funk on Justin Herbert. We're not going to want to put it on Khalil Mack. We're not going to want to put all of it on Joey Bosa. Some of it's definitely on Joey Bosa for sure. We're not going to want to put this on Derwin Jack. We putting this funk on Brandon Staley. That's where the funk is going to be. You don't survive that kind of funk. That's the kind of funk that, like, you find out Brandon Staley is a visor for Rutgers in like 5 years, and then maybe he might take. Like, this is the kind of funk that makes you have to get out the paint, dog. This is bad. This is really, really bad. He blew a 27-point lead, and the worst part about it, no disrespect to Trevor Lawrence. But Trevor Lawrence is not one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He might be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but, like, he's not Joe Burrow. If this happened to Joe Burrow, we would be talking about how great Joe Burrow is, because we would understand, like, yo, Joe Burrow's great. He's one of the best. He's been one of the best for a while. This wasn't like he blew this lead to Pat Mahomes. We would get that, and this would be about how great Patrick Mahomes is and how hard it is to beat Patrick Mahomes. When you do this to the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, no disrespect, this ain't about the greatness of Trevor Lawrence. He had 4 interceptions in this game. He's the only quarterback to advance in the playoffs with 4 interceptions. 4 interceptions. Good on him for coming back and throwing the 4 touchdowns. But, like, it's not like this was an all-time great performance by Trevor Lawrence. It was almost an all-time terrible performance. You can make the argument it was one of the worst halves of football quarterbacked by anybody in a playoff game in recent memory. And that's who did this to you. That's insane. That is insane. Yeah, dog. Somebody's getting fired. It's Brandon Staley. That can't happen. That can't happen. That's the kind, like, even the most ardent Brandon Staley defender cannot look at what happened and goes, hey, man, let's ride it out, because they know it. I know it. You at home know it. We all know it. No matter how hard of a Chargers fan you are, or Justin Herbert fan, or whatever it is your allegiance is, we all collectively understand that Brandon Staley got the funk on him, and nobody wants to be associated with the funky man. It's a cold world out there. Brandon Staley got that funk. That's all I have to say about that game, which is, it's going to be a tough ride back for Brandon Staley. He's talented enough to where he might get back, but boy, is it going to be tough for him. It's going to be real tough.